Well, hi there, my name's Demi. I'm a intercalating medical student at King's, and in today's video, I will be talking through placement lines. The reason I'm making this video is when I was trying to make a decision, I realized it's kind of hard to find all the information. And even then, I feel like just looking at the ECOM and what the KEETS website says isn't enough. So I wanted to make a video on the student experience. So what people have found and how they've enjoyed it, what students did, because I feel like that's a lot more accurate. The one negative of this is very anecdotal, very subjective, so please take it with a pinch of salt. I don't want you treating this as gospel, but I really hope this can help you make a more informed decision. In terms of like how I'm going to structure this, I'm going to start with the 5 main London hospitals, which I'm going to list here. So we're going to start with Guy's and St Thomas's, King's College Hospital, University Hospital Lewisham, Princess University Hospital in Orpington, and then Queen Elizabeth in Woolwich. Then I'm going to move on to the peripheral ones, which I'm going to list here in order. So I put Croydon, you're probably wondering why, I'll explain it later. And then I've also got the Dartford or Darent Valley Hospital, Medway, Maritime in Gillingham, I don't know how to pronounce it to be honest. Ashford in Kent, or also called William Harvey Hospital. We have Tunbridge Wells and Maidstone Hospital Trust, Margate Hospital or Queen Elizabeth the Queen Mother, Eastbourne District Hospital in Eastbourne obviously, Hastings or Conquest Hospital, and Swindon or the Great Western Hospital. And I'll be trying to explain 4 key things from each one. So first is the location, how to get there into, like, say from Guy's campus for example. The second is accommodation, is it off-site, on-site, is it en-suite, etc, etc. Then I'll be going into what the education, the teaching is like. Is there a good education centre? Is the formal teaching good, like the structured timetabled stuff? And is there good informal teaching, like when you turn up to the wards, do the doctors actually care that you exist? The last one is going to be what people wish they knew, hidden gems in the area. What you will realise is a lot of the peripherals don't really have any hidden gems, but it's more the people you're with. And I also want to make a fat disclaimer that, in my opinion, I'd rather have the worst line with the best mate or the best line with like no mates. So it's, all of this isn't that important as long as you're with your friends, in my opinion. Try and coordinate that with your friends. There's a swap window once they're released. And good luck in the ballot numbers. I can make this video, like all this research just to get 700 and end up
in the depths of Swindon.
So yeah, like, just praying for you, hope it goes well. Yeah, so I'm just editing this vid and wanted to add in a little bit that I've added chapters in the description, so if you want to skip to any part that would be useful, then do that. Also just got my ballot number. KCL has given me 430.
If you want to visit me in Swindon next year, drop me a message, I will be there.
Right, so first off, we're going to start with Guy's and St Thomas's Hospital. So we're going to start with, I'm going to split this into 2, St Thomas's and Guy's. I'm going to start with St Thomas. So as you know, like probably the best location out of any London hospital. It's about 10-minute walk from Westminster, roughly the same from Waterloo. Impeccable views, like I was there in 2nd and 3rd year. You can see literally Westminster and London Eye from the ward view, which is amazing. In terms of like teaching, so because I was there 2nd and 3rd year, I'm not gonna use that. I asked people in 4th year and how they found it. And essentially what they found is that it's quite intense. And as you can see, I'm gonna add some anecdotal quotes here, but it's intense. And I think people found this quite tough, like long days, had some on-call shifts until 10 p.m. Obviously dependent on the block, but formal teaching is very good. And I'm just gonna introduce you to my friend Reese, who sent this clip in, which is a bit of info about the teaching and his take on it. I've also added subtitles because he's got the strongest Irish accent I've ever heard. So yeah, sorry mate, but I had to add subtitles for this one.
Teaching is extremely good in terms of formal teaching, so things like workshops, lectures. It is really good in the EMCC block. They even organise additional sessions to help with catheterisation for male and female, which is one of the sign-offs that we need to do. Our fall short is the informal teaching, because the hospital is so well staffed, which is a first world problem, that there isn't actually a lot for us to do as students, and for some reason the healthcare team just doesn't seem to want to teach you very much. So that is one downside, and there's not really any community since it is central London.
In terms of hidden gems at St Thomas, so there's a market nearby with like really good food, which is like 5 minutes walk. They also have a canteen, which is pretty good. Like you can get meals for like £3. Also have St Thomas's house. It's not really a hidden gem, but like very useful to know. Good study space, like really nice. Can get a bit busy at times. Like there was a couple of times in 2nd and 3rd year, it would be full out. So I'd have to go somewhere else to study. But in general, it's very good. Moving on to another big one, King's College Hospital, which is located around Camberwell. And this is usually the way you get here is from Denmark Hill Station, which has trains from Victoria and lots of other places. And then it's like a 10-minute walk from there. Or there is a lot of buses which go down there, but like depends where you're living, whether it's south. If you're north, you're gonna probably have to take a train. Honestly, it's not as good as St Thomas in terms of transport links. In terms of like the educational aspect, so in terms of teaching, it's hard to generalize, but I've attached some anecdotal quotes here as well of what people said about the teaching. But again, very block dependent because each block is so different. Also, like one thing, yeah, as this person said, because like KCH and GSTT are like the top London hospitals, you do get to see a lot of rare stuff. But some people are saying that's good, and some people are like, you don't really need to see the rare stuff, it's more like the more common stuff that will be more useful. And I guess it's double-edged, like, you will see some cool stuff there, but it's up to you whether you feel like it's useful or not. In terms of education, they also have something called the WEC, which is really good. Like, it's bigger than St Thomas's house, so many spaces, study rooms, it's just like a nice library to study in. That is a really good aspect of KCH. Then, in terms of like hidden gems of what people wish they knew, there's a canteen, of course, at the hospital, like bog standard, but they have this. I know people will be like, oh, what are you doing, mate? Why are you revealing this info? But there is a shawarma place nearby called, I've just put a picture here. It sells shawarmas like for about $4.50 for the price of your forearm. No, what am I on about? Not for the price of your forearm, the size of your forearm, which is pretty mad, like, especially in London. And onto University Hospital Lewisham. So, in terms of location, also very good, because if you can get there by overground, perfect. It's a 8-minute walk from Ladywell Station, which is a 10-minute train from London Bridge, which goes pretty regularly. And obviously you can take bus there as well. But in terms of teaching, apparently, yeah, good teaching as well. It's not quite, I think informal teaching slightly better than St Thomas's and KCH because it's a bit less intense, there's a bit less people there, and it's a bit less well staffed. Whereas St Thomas's and KCH are a lot busier. But again, take this with a pinch of salt, it's all opinion based. They also have a nice education centre and a library. Hidden gems, or what people wish they knew. I can actually get anything for this, it is Lewisham. I think most people just go back to London, central London, because it's really close. And then I'm going to move on to Princess Royal University Hospital. So this is in Orpington. So that's basically in Kent. It's about 45 minutes from Guy's campus if you take the train, which is about 15 minutes to Orpington. And then you take a bus, which is about another 15 minutes. So if you are in London, this is probably going to be the hardest one to get to, along with Queen Elizabeth and Woolwich. In terms of like the education, apparently the education centre isn't bad. Teaching's really good because there's less doctors. No, it's less busy than a St Thomas or KCH. So it's like in between that like very central London and peripheral vibe, because you automatically will tend to get more attention and better teaching. That moves me on to the last of the central London ones. It's Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Woolwich. This one's a bit tougher to get to. So even though it's like not crazy out, the transport links are a bit dodged. So now they go North Greenwich and then take a 25-minute bus. There's a couple of train stations like nearby-ish, but it's not the easiest to get to. Usually you have to go station then bus. There's not like a station right next to it. In terms of like education, apparently it's very organised according to, I'm going to attach some things people said about the teaching and like education. Yeah, in terms of the education centre itself, apparently it's a bit smaller. It's not quite the WEC. And it's a bit mid, but again, depends how picky you are. Because for me, like, I don't really care as long as there's a desk and it doesn't smell, and it's like the temperature isn't too cold, like or stuffy. Like I'm not really too fussed. But again, for some people, they like to have more like nice facilities and stuff like that. In terms of hidden gems, so for sign-offs, apparently there's this place called the Red Extension or Miners in the emergency department, which is great for sign-offs. As a general rule of thumb, anywhere in the emergency department is going to be good for sign-offs. Hospital canteen's super cheap as well. But yeah, that is the London hospital done, and I will now be moving on to the most important part, which is peripheral hospitals. Okay, I'm going to start with Croydon, I think district, or general hospital, I think it's called. The reason I put this peripheral firstly is there's a good chance they offer you a com. I wish I could say it's 100%, but until I know for sure, I can't say. They say it's like, it's dependent, but the person I asked said Croydon just reached out to them for a com before they started their block, and they got a com. But please let me know in the comments below if this is true, because I don't want to misinform you guys and say it's guaranteed when it's not. In terms of location, very good. Like it's it's very close to London, but you are in Croydon, so there is that. And this is something someone said about Croydon Hospital, which yeah, take it as you will. In terms of transport, so it's only 15 minutes from London Bridge, and then you have to like take a bus, which is about 15 minutes from East Croydon station. So honestly, it's like 30-40 minutes from campus, so very chill. And there's also trains from like Thornton Heath, which is like a 10-minute bus away, which can go like Victoria and more central. Especially for the fact they give you a com. This is like the closest they have which actually offers a com. But again, not 100%, please take it with a pinch of salt. In terms of like accommodation, so apparently it's a single bed with about 6 rooms per flat and shared kitchen, shared bathrooms, that kind of thing. And I do want to say this is a line which, if you've seen on the placement selections, you can only select it for 5th year. There is no Croydon in 4th year, so it'd be pretty useful for 5th year because you can commute to guys. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty chill. So the next hospital I'm going to talk about is Dartford or Darent Valley Hospital. Again, location, this is actually really good. So there's a 20-minute train from King's Cross to Ebbsfleet and then a bus, which is about 15 minutes. So total like 40 minutes. And then you can go from London Bridge to Dartford as well, and then another bus. And in terms of the accommodation, it should be free unless it specifically says on the placement line. It's on hospital, which means you basically can wake up at 8:58 and turn it towards at 9, which is very useful. It's an 8-bedroom flat with a shared kitchen, and you share bathrooms between 2. And I've attached a video of the accom so you can see what it's like. In terms of the educational aspect, it's more of a peripheral vibe, so yeah, you get more attention from doctors rather than like the central London hospitals, which is nice for informal teaching. And also the education centre is quite nice, and apparently a lot of doctors study there as well. Then in terms of like hidden gems or what people wish they knew, so there's a mall like 5 minutes away called Blue Water, which is actually quite big. There's a lot going on there. In terms of the rest, there's not really much to do in Dartford. Is like you'll notice this is a massive trend where there's not really a lot to do in these places, but it's not really about that. It's more like the people you're with. Good social life apparently as well, because you're peripheral. Like car would probably be pretty useful. You can drive around certain places. Not like essential because you're on hospital for a com, and it's pretty close to London, but would be useful to explore a bit. There's also a skills room where you can book out one-to-one clinical skills, which apparently is really useful. So on to the third hospital. So it's Medway Maritime, which is in roughly Gillingham, which is kind of on the edge of Kent, but also not crazy far from London. In terms of location, so from Victoria and St Pancras, there are trains to Gillingham, which are approximately 45 minutes, and then you can either walk to the accom or take a bus to the hospital, and that's where I got into the accommodation part. So yeah, it's a bit. So in general, like location's a bit further out than Dartford, so it will take you a bit longer, maybe like an hour 10, an hour 20 minutes to get into like London properly. In terms of the accom, so it's off-site, which means you have to travel to the hospital, and it's actually part of Unite Students, which is another company, so it's not the hospital accom anymore. Apparently there used to be like bed bugs and stuff, so they moved it to the Unite Students. The accom is really nice, so it's an ensuite single. I've attached some photos here, and they've got like a games room, cinema room. If you've ever been at a Unite Student accom, it'll be very similar to that. But the problem lies in how to get to the accom to the hospital. So walk is about 40 minutes, and there's a bus which is roughly 20 minutes, but from what I've heard, people have said it's quite unreliable. So honestly, they say your best bet is to drive. However, the problem is with driving, there's no parking at the accom, so you have to park at a retail park nearby, like 5 to 10 minutes walk. But then once you drive, it's about 5 to 10 minutes to the hospital, which is pretty chill. In terms of like the educational aspect, again, very hard to generalize across all blocks, but they say the teaching in these district general hospitals is a lot better, and I've attached a bit of like a couple quotes from what people said about Medway. In terms of like hidden gems, or like things people wish they knew. So the first one, get a car. I think this is the first peripheral accom where most people said you should get a car because 1, you have to kind of, driving to the hospital is a lot easier. 2, there's just not much to do in Medway. Apparently it's quite dead, like as this person said here. But that's fine, like it's opinion based, it's what you make of it. So hidden gems, a lot of people went to Rochester for like, which has like nice cafes or like a day trip, or they just went back to London. So I can't lie, there's not much to do in Medway from what I've heard, but the accom is nice and apparently the teaching is very good. So the next peripheral hospital is in Ashford. It's called William Harvey Hospital. So this is a bit further out than the rest. I'll attach the map here, but still in Kent. So there's either a 40-minute more expensive train from St Pancras, which will help you get to Ashford in about an hour because it's like a 15-minute bus, or you can take slower trains from London Bridge and Victoria, roughly about 1 hour 30, 1 hour 40 to get to Ashford. So it's starting to get a bit further out now. In terms of accommodation, it's on hospital, which means, again, you can wake up like 8:58 and make it to The wards for 9. So there's 1 shower and 2 toilets for 4 people, which isn't the best. Apparently the kitchen is also very small, which is a bit unfortunate. So people almost have to take it in turns there. In terms of education, apparently the teaching is absolutely brilliant.
The teaching is amazing. Like, the teaching is so good. And they're really thorough and they're really welcoming and super kind and so lovely. The teaching is excellent. Like, I have no complaints about that. In fact, I would even say it's better than like the teaching in most placements even, because it's such a like small group and it's so tight knit.
Again, like more district hospital vibe, which as you can see is like a very clear trend now, where it's like district general hospitals, you get a lot more personalised teaching. Wards are less busy, doctors have more time for you. Study space is very small apparently, which isn't the best. I asked a few people, there is no hidden gems in Ashford. It's Ashford. Again, like, I feel like a broken record saying this. A lot of places don't have much to do, but it depends how picky you are. Like, if there's a gym, if there's like good places to run, like a park, like shopping centre, for me that'd be enough. Like, I don't know about most people, but I've lived in like a pretty rural area my whole life, so anything that's like quieter I don't mind too much. Whilst I was editing this video, I completely forgot about Tunbridge Wells and Maidstone, so we're going to quickly do that now. So for location, it's in between like a Dartford and Ashford, so it's a bit further out than Dartford, but not quite as far out as say in Ashford. So it should take roughly an hour from London Bridge or Victoria, and like a 40-minute train. And there's also Maidstone, which is about 30 to 40 minutes bus away from Tunbridge Wells. But apparently like 90% of your placement will be at Tunbridge Wells anyway, so it shouldn't matter too much. The accommodation is a brand new accommodation, which was built next to Tunbridge Wells Hospital. It's on site. It's an ensuite, and you share a flat with 4 people. And I'm just gonna attach a clip right now. It's really nice. For teaching as well, I didn't get too much information, but what people said was that it's generally the district hospital vibe, so doctors will have a lot more time for you compared to say a St Thomas or a KCH. And you feel a lot more as a part of the team in these like district general hospitals. And in terms of hidden gems, I mean, there's not really a crazy amount to do in Tunbridge Wells. So yeah, the accommodation's like outside the city centre, so you have to take a bus in, which is about 20 minits. It's pretty bog standard, it's got your like shopping centre, like... It's not much, to be honest. Okay, now we're getting proper fast. So I'm gonna start with Margate, and this is called Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother Hospital. For context on how far this actually is, Margate is literally closer to France than London, which tells you a lot. Very seaside town. In terms of train, so how to get there. So it's gonna be at least 2 hours from London. So you can take a 1 hour 20 train from Pancras, or a bit of a longer train from Stratford. And that would be usually to Ramsgate station. And then from Ramsgate, you take a bus. It's like this loop bus, apparently, which goes via the hospital. And that moves me on to my next point. So in terms of accommodation, it's on site, which is very good because, again, you can wake up later. I've taken a couple pictures here of what it's like. It's en suite as well, 4 people. Very nice accom, apparently. In terms of education, the teaching is great. And I'm going to cut to my friend Reese here, who has a bit to say on this.
Personalised, the education lead actually gets to know you one-to-one, just because there's like 7 to 8 people in our block in here. And you would just get like random emails such as like, oh, do you want to like, are you free like this week to sit into this clinic? Teaching is very good, both formally and informally, as well as just trying to get sign-offs in general.
Fortunately, apparently there isn't really a great education centre and the hospital study spots aren't the best. But this is anecdotal, so take it with a pinch of salt. And you probably end up studying in your room or like coffee shops nearby. Hidden gems or things to do. So I'm going to add a few quotes here. But I think one thing people mentioned a lot is the social aspect. Because you're so far away from everything, there's more of an initiative to like socialise a lot. So there was a lot of socials, like, as this person said, like running, like weekly socials. There's mess socials funded by the BMA every week, such as like running or bowling or other activities with F1s, which sounds really cool. I mean, it's seaside town, if that's your vibe as well, like lots to do. If you're into like cold plunge and sauna, there's a lot of like saunas by the beach where you can do like contrast therapy. It's a bit niche, but honestly, from what I heard, not many people had anything bad to say about Margate. And even though it's very far, like people had a good time there, which I think is the most important thing. Okay, and that moves me on to my next hospital, which is Eastbourne, which is Eastbourne District or General Hospital. Again, I'm not too sure. It is also pretty much on the edge of the UK, like it's very far. It's a 1 hour 20 train from Victoria, like central London-ish, then like a 20-minute bus to the hospital, so roughly about 2 hours again. Okay, so accommodation is off-site, which means it's not by the hospital. So apparently it's called Welkin Halls of Residence. It won't, for some reason on Keats it says it's NHS accom, but apparently the current 5th years have been moved to this Welkin Halls of Residence instead. And I'm pretty sure you'll also be there, but again, take it with a pinch of salt. I'm not 100%, I don't want to lie. So I'm going to attach a couple of pictures of the current one. It's quite nice, it's ensuite, you've got a big kitchen. And in terms of location, it's about a 10 to 15 minute drive from the hospital. So I would recommend you have a car for this one. In terms of bus, apparently it's like 30 to 40 minutes, which is definitely not ideal. Either make friends with someone who has a car or get a car yourself. In terms of like teaching and education centre, I didn't get much info on this, to be honest, so I don't want to just just start waffling out my arse. In terms of what to do and like things people wish they knew, car is the main one. Like having a car would be so much more useful, especially because you're in Eastbourne, like there isn't a crazy amount to do, so being able to drive to different places would be very useful. There's also a very nice Seven Sisters hike, which I've been on before, which is really nice. And then obviously you've got like seaside activities as well. So if that suits your vibe, then cool. I'm moving on to my next one. So this is Hastings or Conquest, which is another seaside town, which is quite close to Eastbourne. In terms of location, it's about 2 hours again. So yeah, train from Charing Cross and then a bus to the hospital or bus to the Econ, wherever you are staying. Accommodation, this one's a bit more complicated, but from the person I spoke to, apparently they were continuity for 5th year currently. And in the summer block, they were in the NHS Econ, which apparently, as they've said here, was a bit dinging, like more backpacking Asia vibes, I think. Shed bathroom, like kind of like your typical cheap student room vibe. But then after like the summer block, they got moved to this Econ instead. And the contrast is pretty massive, like, to be honest. So the NHS Econ pros were the fact that it was literally next to the hospital, so you could wake up really late and that kind of thing. Whereas the fancy Econ is in the city centre, which is about 20-30 minutes away from the hospital. So I'll have to take bus or drive. They said recommend driving for sure. So this is another peripheral where driving is super key. So the fancy off-site Econ was ensuite, as you can see, like, I think by far the nicest Econ I've seen for a peripheral. In terms of education, so their take was that, so I only asked two people about this, but apparently the teaching was objectively not good, which is rare considering it's a peripheral, but the reason they said this is there was a lot of like timetable changes, last minute cancellations. For whatever reason, I'm not too sure. The thing is though, like they are trying to improve this, so by this time next year, it might be a lot better. So again, oh mate, you're gonna say it for the 100th time, but it is, take this all with a pinch of salt because it could change. And I'm just trying to help inform a decision, but don't treat this as gospel, please. Things to do. So beach city, rinse it during summer. If you get the summer block, apparently it's vibes, like everyone's quite close, lots of socials, that kind of thing. If you are placed at the off-site Econ, they give you a free bus pass. And this bus can take you a lot of places. So you can go to Eastbourne, you can go all around Hastings as well for free. And another key thing is, like Croydon, this is only for 5th year. Again, that moves me on to the last peripheral, Swindon or Great Western Hospital. So in terms of transport, so this is like in between, say, like Bristol, and then there's Reading, and then there's London. So it's very out of place. Like most of the placement lines are to the east of London, whereas Swindon is just the complete opposite way. That being said, the transport isn't actually that bad. So there's a 50-minute train to London Paddington from Swindon, where you have to take like a 15-minute bus from the hospital. And there's the second option of taking a National Express bus or Flixbus from outside the hospital to London Victoria, which is obviously longer, around 2+ hours, but probably cheaper as well. In terms of accommodation, apparently this is one of the nicest Econs as well, along with Hastings. So it's a Unite Students Econ, but it's on the hospital site, which is brilliant. It's ensuite, you get double bed. Apparently the accommodation manager is super nice. I'm just going to attach something here. And a lot of activities, like competitions that take place. In terms of teaching, like everyone I spoke to said the teaching was really good, like really well timetabled, really well structured. And because it's peripheral, you get better formal and informal teaching. So doctors often have more time for you, get to know you better, that kind of thing. Things to do.
This is where it starts to go south.
So I went to secondary near Swindon in Cheltenham, and a lot of people were from there, and there's absolutely niche to do. Like,
there's a town centre with a gym and a massive cinema. Sick. It's fucking sick.
Top tip, get a car for this one as well. or know someone who has one, because there's really cool stuff to do nearby, as this message said. You go to the Cotswolds, Cirencester. If nature's your thing, you'll definitely like this a lot more. Good running route apparently as well. The essentials, you know, it's not too far from London. The comm and teaching is brilliant. So there's actually a lot of positives despite being quite far away. So yeah, basically that is all of the peripheral hospitals done. And I'm going to have a brief section on the mental health placements and how they work. So I don't have a crazy amount of information on mental health placements, but as you can see in the placement lines, you either get SLAM, Oxleys or Kennet Medway. With SLAM, you don't know exactly where you're going until like very soon before the placement. So I know a guy who's in Croydon, Lewisham, Bethlem Hospital. They'll send you pretty much anywhere where SLAM is. Same with, I think it's the same with Oxleys as well. And with Kennet Medway, they do tell you where your comm is. So presumably where your comm is going to be where your hospital is, unless they're crazy cruel. One thing I heard is that for the teaching, there's like a full teaching day where it's like OSCE style, 9 to 5. And they get all the people from SLAM or Oxleys or Kennet Medway together. And for the people in Kennet Medway, they'll even get you taxis to get to that site because it might be really far. But that's pretty much what I've heard from the mental health placements. Somewhat similar to third year, but again, can't guarantee it because I don't have much info on that. Right, and then the last thing I wanted to talk about is the timing of your elective. So you can either have your elective in term 2 or term 3. Term 2 will be roughly like January to about March. And then term 3 probably around like April to June, or you know, whenever everything finishes. There isn't like a definitive answer for this, so I'm just gonna weigh up with my own opinion on things. But from what I spoke to people about, they said some people like to have it earlier because you've just finished your AKT, you've just finished your, you know, your main exams, the OSCE and the progress test, and it feels like the time to have a holiday instead of spending the Monday going back to placement. But then you also have to do your PSA afterwards, so you're not completely done. Whereas if you do the elective after in term 3, you're like completely done with things, you can relax. And you also have the opportunity to do an extended holiday because there's nothing afterwards, you've already done that. In addition to F1 block, so again, there's no like wise advice on this. It's whether it's what you're feeling. If you want to have an extended holiday, then you want to have it in term 3. Otherwise, it's not that deep. If you have it in term 2, you also have your transition to F1 block later, which might make you more ready for F1 in a way because it'll be a bit fresher. But to be honest, it's not that deep. But yeah, that is the video done. It's quite a long one. Well done if you've stuck to the end. And yeah, man, I think I was pretty nervous to make this my first YouTube video, but I'm glad I've done it. I hope it helped some of you guys. And as always, follow for more. Just lost my train of thought. What was I going to say? Again, for the 100th time, take this with a pinch of salt. It's very subjective. Could be completely different in your own experience. People all have different opinions on things, but I hope this gives you a somewhat better idea on what you want to pick yourself and what kind of things you're looking for. But yeah, really hope this helped, and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.